Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to What Can I Do with Conga Composer webinar. Today, we'll explore some popular Conga use cases. We're going to introduce some of our alliance partners and have them share their success stories from using Conga. I'm Teresa Bowerly, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. Before we get started, I wanted to note that the entire webinar is slated to last for 30 minutes. The webinar is being recorded, and we'll also make the recording available within a few days on our YouTube channel, as well as in our webinar archive on our Conga support page. If you do have questions during the session, please submit them via the GoToMeeting chat option. Any questions that we do not get to during the session will be followed up with after the webinar. All right, so let's get started. I'm pleased to introduce Shelley Houlihan, who will be taking you through the session today. Shelley?
Hi everyone, I'm Shelley Houlihan and I'm a Senior Product Specialist here at Conga. I'm very excited to take you through this webinar today to show you some of the great ways you can use Conga. As Teresa said, we'll be hearing from a few different alliance partners. So these folks work for different consulting firms and have implemented Conga for many different customers in a bunch of different ways. So they have great ideas on how to use Conga and different tips and tricks. They're each going to share with you an example or two of what they've done with customers. Before we get to that part, I just wanted to show you all a couple of use cases from our website. So let me pull my browser over. Okay, I think everyone can now see our Conga homepage. So our website is just congamerge.com, and I wanted to show you all this really quickly because there's a bunch of really helpful resources, especially when you're trying to expand your adoption of Conga Composer and think of new ways that you can implement the app. So from our website here at the top, you'll see this tab for use cases, and there's two different ways to use this. You can go to examples, which will pull up specific sort of template-based examples, so account plans, policies and procedures, work orders, and so forth. If you click on any of these icons, it'll take you through to that category and tell you a little bit about it, and then kind of this what's in it for you and how we do it. And then the other way you can do this is from the examples, or excuse me, the use cases menu. You can instead go to industries, so either right here or again use the tab at the top and go to industries. So if you're in the energy industry, for example, you could click through to that category and then it'll say here's some use cases you might be interested in, what the functional area is, the template outputs that we've worked with for that industry, and so forth. So that's a really good way you can kind of get your toes in the water on some other ways to use Conga. And now I'm going to pass it over to our first alliance partner. So let me pull up my PowerPoint again really quick and you all can see who we have on today's agenda. So first we're going to have from Appirio, Jared Kingston, followed by Robert Smith from CRM SOS. Then Tom McKern. I probably totally mispronounced your name, Tom, so you're going to have to correct me later. He's from ThirdWave. And then finally we have Lewis Kopp from Unlimited Technology Solutions. So we'll get started with Jared here. I'm going to pass the Jared, not pass the controls, but we're going to unmute you so you can take us through the solution. And then I'm going to have the controls, so just whenever you're ready to have me advance to the next slide, you just let me know. So I'll pass it over to Jared now. Teresa, I think he might still be muted, it looks like. Okay, just one moment. There you go, Jared. We should be able to hear you now.
All right. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for having us on the webinar today. For those of, I just want to take a quick minute to introduce Appirio to everyone if you haven't heard of us. So at Appirio, we're all about helping you reimagine your business using cloud, mobile, and social technologies such as Salesforce, Google, Workday, and Conga, of course. And the way we do that is we pair our traditional consulting approach with the world's top designers, developers, and data science in our top coder community within Appirio. And there you can see just a couple of the companies that we have helped over the years get to a reimagined business using those cloud technologies. Before I get into the case study, I just want to kind of talk about a couple ways we actually use Conga internally at Appirio. So one cool way we use Conga is we actually, as consultants, have to keep a Appirio resume updated so that we can be staffed properly. And the way we do that is we actually, record our different experiences on projects, and we use Conga to build that resume out for us. So a nice way to keep that resume updated with data that we're already having to enter into this system. And the other way, another way that we use it is to bring all of the implementation information that we're doing for customers into one document. So we're already recording this information as we go throughout our development cycles, and at the end of the project we can just go through a simple process with Conga in generating a full document that outlines everything that we did for that customer within that release. And so a really cool way to use Conga there. So now I'd like to get into the case study.
Let me click through to your next slide here, Jared. Is this the one you wanted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, perfect. Awesome. So in this case study, we had a company come to us and say, hey, we need this ability to merge together all these resumes for these candidates that have applied for a job. And we currently do it through grabbing all the resumes and just continually copying and pasting all that information into one document. We want to be able to put this information into Salesforce and then have some way to bring all those resumes into one document and have the ability to select specific people, select all of them, you name it, we want that ability. So we turned, of course, to Conga Composer and a little bit of Conga queries to make this happen. So as it says here in the solution, right, we took Conga Composer, Conga queries, and a simple JavaScript button is actually provided by Conga, and we were able to add a button to list views as well as a related list on the job applicant record, so that the company could easily check off the candidates that they wanted and click a button, and it would take all of their resumes and put it into one booklet for them, all formatted out and with page breaks for each of the different resumes. And then they could go to a list view and build their own list view out and select resumes from that, so they wouldn't necessarily have to do it from a specific job applicant record, all within the click of a button. So the results here, right, are we're reducing their time and effort to not only find but also merge these resumes together. Then we eliminated the manual document merging, right, keeping them from having to do it themselves. And it also standardized that booklet that they were putting together of resumes. So all in all, a great solution and a great way to use Conga. It's actually the first time that I've been able to use the JavaScript way of doing that with list views and related lists. Really helps out expanding the use of Conga. And that's it for that case study.
So, can you tell us a little bit more, Jared, about some of the time that's specifically saved on this particular solution for your client? Because I know you said before they were creating these resume booklets with just a manual copy-paste.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so this was a prospect, so I can't specifically speak to the time saved right now as far as where they're at today, but the definite time saver, right, is the fact that they're already entering this data into Salesforce. So instead of having to copy and paste that into their own Word document that they're building out, Conga was able to save an exponential amount of time, really generate a document within seconds, essentially, as opposed to taking them 30 minutes to grab potentially 100 resumes and put them into one document.
Great, great. And what I liked about the solution that Jared has talked about here, as well as the ability to use JavaScript in the solution, that they implemented a JavaScript custom button. And normally Conga doesn't require any kind of code, but the great thing about it is that you can leverage that if you need to. Certain customers have really advanced requirements, and that's where it's great to work. Someone like me who's not a coder and who doesn't know anything about JavaScript and Visualforce, it's so nice to have folks like Appirio who are experts in that, and they can say, oh, we can take it to the next level and implement some code and get super, super customized and kind of bridge that gap of a lot of times that'll eliminate another manual step that might have been involved before Conga comes in and pulls the data. So that can be a really good solution for those folks on the phone if you have something that's requiring a lot of manual data entry or just too many steps for your representatives or whoever's generating your documents. That's a big win with using a partner, is that they're often experts in that kind of coding arena. So thanks for sharing that, Jared. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add about this particular solution?
Yeah, no problem. No, that's it for today.
Okay, well, thanks so much for sharing that. That's a great one. All right, so next up we have CRM SOS, and we have Robert Smith from that
Hi there.
firm. Oh, there you are, Robert. Great. I'm going to let you take over. Just let me know when you're ready to go to the next slide.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. So CRM SOS, we're a Salesforce partner based in the UK, in the UK's second city called Birmingham. Been going around about 6 years, and we've got a range of customers which would be fair to say tend to be medium-sized businesses. And recently we're starting to pick up a lot of manufacturing businesses due to us having a partnership with an ERP system that sits on top of Salesforce called Ascent. We've been doing business, I guess, with Conga for some time now, but we've actually found that more and more clients, when they take on the ERP system or a finance system like Financial Force, which we're also a reseller of, often want some more extra automation put on, and Conga really helps in that. Just like Jared, we use Conga ourselves. So only today, we've sent out a letter of engagement to a client, which is on our opportunity object. We use Conga to generate our letter of opportunity. We link that with EchoSign. We send it to the client. It's all fully electronic. So we live that, practicing what we preach, in that Conga it is a very important product for ourselves too. So we're a fairly small company. We're all certified consultants, and we have an offshore facility based out in Vietnam. And as I say, most of our work these days is based around the Ascent ERP, Financial Force, and Conga, and we have quite a few clients that have all of these products together. So Conga helps glue everything together for that. So that's great. So could I have the next slide, please?
Yes.
So the case study that I'm going to talk about is a company called Kalu. Kalu were based probably about 50 miles north of London in a place called Hemel Hempstead. And they've been going 2 or 3 years now, and they supply playground equipment to predominantly schools, councils, all sorts of businesses where they're looking for some type of playground or fitness equipment. Now, their requirement was that they wanted to generate quotes, sales orders, and invoices, which is fairly complex for them, because often they're bringing in fairly complex quotes with lots of different products, lots of different items together. And what the MD there wanted to do was ensure that he could automate this simply, that all of his staff could generate fairly complex quotes. So he's using the ERP system, and we're using Conga an awful lot in there for them to automatically generate not only just a standard quote with standard line items in there, but often it's doing calculations as well in the background. That's when we hit the generate button, it's looking at what the total value of the product is and actually doing a calculation for kind of delivery costs and any other items that they need to for the installation cost. So what that did for him as such, and he's part live with the system at the moment and going fully live actually next week, is it's reduced his quote creation time. So only last week he created a quote by hand and it took him 90 minutes. And the same quote using the ERP with Conga, a fairly complex quote, only taking 20 minutes. So that's massively reduced his time. What more importantly it's given him is the ability that other staff, you know, and new people coming on board can use the system to generate quotes as well. And that's obviously a big bonus because he's going through a huge growth in his company. And obviously he doesn't want to be sitting there doing, you know, the quotes himself all day, which has been the case for the last 2 years. Yeah, great results from there. Have I got another slide there? I know you cut some out. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to
Okay.
cut some out. Is that the one
Okay.
you wanted to see?
So this is probably the, is this the final slide now?
Let me check really quick. Yeah, that's the final one.
Okay, so let's just talk on that final slide. So here is a good example of Salesforce opportunity with some additional objects for the manufacturing piece. And what all he needs to do now is populate those fields with the items that he requires inside the system, and he's got several options on the Conga buttons, whether it's an order acknowledgement, sales order, or an actual quotation. And now we've got all those in the system, fully automating his whole process. So it's been a really good result for him, and you know he's a really good exponent of the Conga technology. And that's about my 5-minute presentation. If you've got any questions.
Yeah, so Robert, here on this create quote sort of screenshot that we have, where
Yeah,
they're entering in the items like Diabolo Green, etc. Is that
yeah.
using Ascent right there? Some people might not be familiar with
Yes. So that's
Ascent, so
so that's using the Ascent ERP add-on system, which has a related list sitting inside the opportunity. There are lots of other components to that product, of course, because
sure.
you know that is quite a heavyweight ERP system, and we're using that in several clients now, including a couple of bed manufacturers. But yeah, so Kalu's using that, so he's got all of his stock and inventory inside the system, so he can go into one place now, manage the whole order process from quotation right through to delivery, all using Salesforce, Ascent, and obviously the Conga automation.
That's great. That's great. And I know you said that you all are using a couple of different templates in order to create the quotes and sales orders and invoices, but then you're outputting that in sort of one seamless document.
Yeah, well, he uses several different templates. So, for instance, order acknowledgement may pull on the same template as quote, but add on some additionals, terms and conditions, etc. We've also done quite a lot of work in creating the discount levels. Often he'll have a problem where a client where has a fixed amount to spend, but when he creates the quote, it's not quite that fixed amount. It may be a few dollars more, and he wants to kind of round that off. So we've built that functionality for him, so it automatically calculates the discount, and when it outputs the Conga, it will calculate that discount for him to show in there. But most importantly, if there's not a discount, it doesn't show it at all. So we've actually programmed Conga to do that, because obviously he doesn't want to show people a 0% discount if he's not going to give them a discount, because it creates extra questions. So there's quite a lot of work we've done on that for him to give him the end result.
Great, great. So it sounds like you guys are using quite a bit of what I would consider like dynamic components to make that really
Yes.
streamlined
Yeah,
for
we are.
Kalu. That's great.
Yes,
So
we are.
they've For everyone on the call, there's a few different components that you might be interested in that Robert was speaking about. So Ascent ERP and Financial Force are two add-on apps for Salesforce, but Conga can get in and pull that data as well. And then just that ability to pull not only a bunch of data, but into a bunch of different template types. And even if you have a quote and then in one template and a terms and conditions in another template, you can still get that into one seamless document as the last step so that the customer would never know the difference. It's all in one PDF, or you could do it as a zip file if you prefer. So a very cool solution there from the folks at CRM SOS, and thanks to Robert for presenting that for us.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on. We now have ThirdWave Consulting, and we have Mike Quackenbush presenting for us. Earlier I said it was Tom, but I think we've had a lineup change here. So Mike, can you go ahead and take it away whenever you're ready and tell us about your solution?
Sure. Thanks, Shelley. Yeah, like Shelley said, my name's Mike. I work for ThirdWave Consulting. We've been delivering Salesforce solutions for a little over 10 years now. We were the first Salesforce partner in Canada. I've been here for about 4 years, and during that time, we've done a lot of work with kind of oil and gas related Salesforce implementations. We're kind of a full-service shop, so to speak. So we do everything from front-end requirements gathering and strategic advisory through Salesforce implementation support at the end of the day as well. Pretty much, I think we're 20 employees or so now. 10 of us are consultants. We have developers and project managers, things like that. If you can just pop ahead to my first slide there, Shelley.
Yep, it's just loading here.
Okay.
There we go. It should come up in just a second. There we go.
Thanks. So our, we've done a lot of different Conga implementations for various clients. Most people generally go with the kind of the bread and butter, which is you close a deal, you want to create your contract, you want to create your invoice. You click your button, there's your contract, there's your invoice, you send it off to your customer, and you're done. There's a few little tricks in Salesforce that have kind of stumbled or had some of our customers have had some issues with, and this is kind of one of the cases that I wanted to talk about today. So Landmark Theaters is one of our customers. They are predominantly out in the west, basically about central to the west side of Canada, and they own around 50 or so theaters, kind of across that half of the country. And we work with their corporate sales team. So those are the guys that they'll book a school in for if a school wants to book a theater, they'll have corporate events there. If you want to have your kid's birthday party at a theater, they're the people you call, basically. So if you're trying to book out a theater, or if you need to buy large amounts of concessions, if you want to rent a table for the front of the theater, these are the guys you talk to. So they handle, they say, here's the theater somebody wants to book, and here are all the different products they want to have included as part of that deal. And at the end of that, they need to generate a contract or an invoice. So what kind of they came to us with was they, in Canada, we have a fun tax situation. So there's provincial taxes, there are national taxes that have to get involved when it comes to things like concessions. There are also, in a few places in Canada, like different cities like Winnipeg, Manitoba, for example, they have an amusement tax that gets charged for concessions at theaters. So when the corporate sales reps are adding these products to their opportunity, they need to calculate taxes specifically based on where the theater is and also what type of product it is. And one of the issues that you're going to see with that in Salesforce is that when you try to sum up all of those types of taxes, Salesforce can't do that in a standard way. You'd have to use a little bit of Apex, roll up a normal Salesforce roll-up summary field won't do it for you. So their sales reps were spending a lot of time, before we implemented our solution, they were spending a lot of time sitting there manually calculating tax values just to put them on their overall invoice to a customer. They also have an accounting team that works with these invoices. And one of the issues they were having was, they have their external system, they have Salesforce, they didn't want to necessarily spend the money right away to integrate them. So their accounting team would see these invoices, they would pop over to their accounting software, generate like an invoice number, copy it back into Salesforce. They'd be moving things kind of back and forth. 2 or 3 times there was, it usually took them about 15 minutes to do all this stuff. And then they had, a few instances where there were some errors on the invoice numbers, especially if they had to version the invoice. Sometimes they would generate a brand new one instead of just getting a new invoice number. It's causing a lot of headaches on the back end. So those were kind of the two problems that that we sort of saw coming from them. Like those are the two requirements they came to us with. And kind of the issue with the the accounting stuff was that you can create a thing called an auto number field in Salesforce. It doesn't really work very well for what they were trying to do. They wanted kind of a general, here's our invoice number for this particular deal. Every time you create an invoice, we want to increment that number no matter what opportunity you're working from. So our solution was to use Conga Composer with queries. So as far as the tax stuff went, we created a query to basically sum up the amusement taxes, the provincial taxes, the national taxes from all the different products that were attached to it. So all the all the products have their own tax calculations. We just used a Conga query. You can use a report as well, but we like the SOQL aspect of using queries. And we summed up those those taxes, plopped it right onto their invoice and their contract forms, and away they went. So it saved them, from what we gather, about 45 minutes of work. So they had to spend a lot of time, double checking everything. You don't want to send obviously incorrect invoices to customers, or else you're going to be in big trouble. So they used to spend around 45 minutes double checking all the tax stuff, making sure all the rates were fine. And now everything gets done right within Salesforce. They click the Conga button to generate their form. Everything works behind the scenes. Takes about 5 seconds to generate the form, and away it goes. So there's a lot less error. There's a lot less time taken for sales reps to calculate stuff. They're out selling, which is what they should be doing, and it makes their lives obviously a lot less stressful when they don't have to think about it. Basically, it's just click the button and away they go. And with the invoice number stuff, we basically actually got a lot of help from the Conga support people on this. I even had a guy call me from a wedding he was attending to help me walk through it on the last day before we were going live. But we created an invoice number object. Just has, here's the current invoice number across all of your deals. It's got a formula that just adds 1 to that. And then when you click the button in Salesforce to create your invoice, it increments the number by 1, attaches the number to your invoice, and away you go. So it's doing all of the accounting work basically behind the scenes. So you click a button off your deal, it tells you, hey, this is your invoice number, and this is going to be the right invoice number for any deal. They don't have to worry about it anymore. They know exactly what the number should be. And then when the accounting people go in to look at it, they just have to type in the one number that they see in their accounting system. So they see the number in Salesforce, they type it into their accounting software, and there's no more back and forth. I'd say we're down to about 1% error now. They've had one error in the last maybe 100 or so contracts they've had to put into Salesforce, and that was just a simple transcription thing. So down the road, they're going to go, they're actually integration ready basically. So this Conga solution, it's actually updating records in Salesforce. So the minute they actually want to go through and integrate with their back-end system, they don't have to worry about doing anything else. The invoice number is already there on the record, and it'll flow right through to their accounting thing. And so that was really it as far as the solutions. I don't know if you just go ahead one more, Shelley. I think we have the results on the next page.
Yep.
Yeah. So like I said, we reduced the amount of time the accounting people were spending from basically 15 to 20 minutes down to nothing. It's just they just have to copy a number over to their accounting software. No more errors with taxes, which is obviously huge. And there's a lot less manual stuff for them to do within Salesforce. We're using computers. Let's let the computer do the work. So you click the button, everything happens behind the scenes, and the invoices are now got the correct taxes and they have the right invoice number.
That's great. That's great. So Mike mentioned a few things that I think might be really helpful to folks on the phone. One is that ability to use Conga queries. So if anyone's not familiar, they're simply another way to retrieve detailed data or related data to use in your merge process. So oftentimes we do that with Salesforce reports just because everybody is very familiar with reports, but queries are another way to gather that data, and the big benefit there is they can get to some different objects and do some different calculations that aren't available in reports. So for Mike's example with Landmark, that was really helpful for them calculating the taxes. Oftentimes it's some sort of calculation that we need to do, and queries are really good at that. So summing, averaging, counting, mins, maxes, all that kind of thing you can do with a query. With reports, you can do those sort of on-the-fly formulas with a report. The problem is that when Salesforce exports that report for Conga to use, you don't get that formula data anymore. So that's why a query can be really helpful in those sorts of situations. Another thing that I like that Mike mentioned was the auto incrementing of the invoice number. So as he mentioned, there is the ability to use an auto number sort of field that Salesforce provides, but the problem there is that it only generates a new number each time a record is created. So oftentimes we have quoting or invoicing solutions for customers, and they say we need a unique invoice or quote number or contract number, whatever it is, each time a new iteration or version of that quote or contract is sent. So that's where we use a feature called master field to set, and that's what Mike was talking about with, it was probably Robert who was talking to you from a wedding and walked you through how to do that, but it's actually very easy. So if anyone's interested in that, contact our support team. I think we even have maybe an article about it in our knowledge base, so if I can dig that up, we'll include that in the follow-up email that we send you guys after the webinar. So very cool solution there for Landmark Cinemas and from ThirdWave Consulting. So thanks very much to Mike for that. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add there, Mike?
Not really. The only thing, that type of solution is also, probably the only way that somebody with professional edition of Salesforce can solve that kind of summing as well. Like they can't use any code.
Oh, that's
so they'd have, using Conga would work pretty well as well.
Yeah, great point. And another thing that's great about queries is you don't have to implement a bunch of roll-up summary fields, which I know is sometimes something that people will try to go to, but you only get so many of those, and they oftentimes don't do quite the calculation that you need. So, like Mike mentioned, if you're a professional edition person, that's a great route to go. So thanks so much for that, Mike.
Thanks.
We're going to move on to our final presenter, and we have Unlimited Technology Solutions. And this should be Lewis. Lewis, can you hear us okay?
Yes, can you hear me as well?
Yes, we can hear you. So I'm going to let you take it away and just let me know when you're ready for your next slide.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining this webinar. So Unlimited Technology Solutions is a Salesforce.com implementation partner. We have been implementing Salesforce for customers for over 10 years. We have offices based in New York City and work largely in the Northeast, but throughout the United States. We have verticals that we focus on, quite a number of them, a large portion in financial services, and lending industry. But our organization is focused on delivering a white glove service to our clients, basically from initial kickoff and discovery on through implementation, training, a customized training solution, and support. So we've worked, as I mentioned, for over 10 years with Salesforce. We've watched the product evolve and have worked quite a bit with the Salesforce team in shaping the product. And Salesforce is basically the center of our organization, and it's the sole product that we support. Okay. We chose to take a little bit of a different solution here. So while we have implemented Conga at many different organizations for quite a bit of different solutions and challenges that we had to address, Conga is very much a part of our day-to-day in our organization. We use it throughout our Salesforce org to support the running and operation of our own business. So I thought, what better of an example to speak on than how we leverage Salesforce to, how we leverage Conga to support our own business. So at UTS, we leverage Conga right from the beginning of our customers. Typically, when we get involved with a customer, they're looking for a non-disclosure agreement, and we've automated these processes beginning from the NDA. So we're able to generate a non-disclosure agreement to our customers off of a single click. But what that gets us is beyond just the template merge. We store some key dates into Salesforce and have workflow generated around them, so that to stick with the non-disclosure agreement example, Not only can we tell when an NDA was generated and executed, but we know when it's expiring, and then we have Salesforce workflow to notify our management team of these key dates. For example, an NDA is about to expire and maybe it needs to be renewed. Um, Continuing on, our professional services agreement, our statements of work, all of our invoices, all of these are generated through Conga, whether it's a combination of Word documents delivered as in the form of PDF, or even in the case of our wellness assessment, which I'll speak more on, generated in the case of Excel. Talking about our wellness assessment, about 2 years ago, we developed a project to help our organizations review their Salesforce.com org. A lot of times it's bolted into as part of a systems audit that they're doing, but we will come in and we will take a look at org, look at data quality, look at security settings, and it occurred to us that by gathering a lot of that information and bringing it into our own org, not only are we able to track all the details, of these customers, but we could leverage this by pushing all of that data into Excel, and then use the charting capability of Excel to generate our actual assessment. So this is kind of it's a 50-point graphical assessment that again talks about data quality, deduping, security settings, and by leveraging Excel, you can see our end user sees pie charts and graphs, as well as a color-coded, whether it's a red, orange, or a green, for each of the 50-point checks. We've been able to reduce that. That used to take probably a day and a half worth of effort to do the assessment. Now, basically, once that data is captured out of the customer's org, we click one button and the report is generated in PDF. We could actually automate it right through the email. We actually choose to just take the PDF locally because we normally deliver it with a management readout. But all in all, Conga has been an incredible time saver for us in delivering forms to our end users, but also to to managing the workflow behind that.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. When you talk about that used to take you guys a day and a half to do the wellness assessment, and now it's down to just a couple of minutes.
Yes, yeah, it's really been an incredible time saver for us, and not only just the generation of it, but to have now all of the information stored in Salesforce so you can query on it. So, for example, one of the things that we gather is what instance a customer is on. So when we notice things that are affecting a particular instance, whether that be a spring release or some type of performance degradation, we're able to contact all the customers that we know are on, for example, an NA6 instance, and and communicate with them about what our thoughts are.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's a great idea. So I love that you talked, Lewis, about using Excel because so many of our customers are just using Word templates. Those are the most popular format. We have about 80% of our customers use Word, but we do offer, of course, PDF, Excel, PowerPoint, and HTML email. And I love that you brought up Excel and the ability to chart. And that's where I think, again, a consultant can be a great tool because the charting is definitely doable, but can be a little bit tricky. If you're not quite familiar with Excel or haven't done that before. So that's great that you guys were able to implement so many different data points and visually represent it in a way that's still easy to digest, I guess I should say.
Yes, thanks, Teresa. And I will mention, the integration with Excel was very helpful, but also, your team, although we are partners and we do work with the product, as we went into some of the more complex charting, your team and their support was just phenomenal to help us through that as we develop this.
Great, great. Well, we love hearing that. That's our, I hope everybody knows that. That's our big thing is always a really high level of customer service. So I'm glad you all have experienced that. Um, is there anything else that you wanted to add to this, Lewis?
No, I think that that covers it. You know, it's a great product with a lot of time-saving features, and we pretty much discuss Conga in, as we meet every customer. Just about every implementation, it comes up in some type of form.
Oh, great. Well, we love hearing that. Um, well, really quick, everyone, I just wanted to reiterate all of the wonderful Conga Alliance partners that we had on today's call. So first we had Jared Kingston from Appirio, and he talked about those resume packets that they generate, and also they use Conga Composer internally, and he talked a bit about that and just the elimination of, as so many of us are probably familiar with a lot of copy and paste, and they've totally automated that. And then we had Robert Smith from CRM SOS. Sorry, we were supposed to have Marcel and we didn't update that slide, so I apologize about that. But their website over here is still the same. And Robert showed us that solution from Kaloo Playground Equipment with using quotes, sales orders, and invoices, and they were able to reduce their process from 90 minutes down to about 20 and went from, again, paper to electronic. So that was great as well. And then we had Mike Quackenbush, again, sorry our slide didn't get updated here, from ThirdWave Consulting, and he talked about the Landmark Theaters solution where they were doing the contracts and invoices for the corporate sales team. So again, they took a manual process and made that really streamlined, eliminated the back and forth between the Salesforce system and the accounting system using Composer as well as Conga queries, and also talked about that auto incrementing of the invoice number. And then finally, we just had Lewis from Unlimited Technology Solutions, and he talked about how they use Conga Composer internally at Unlimited Tech, and everything from NDAs and service agreements down to those wellness assessments that they do in Excel, where we were just talking about the charting, and reduce that process from 1.5 days down to just a couple of minutes. So some really good solutions there, and great stories about Conga. And if you're interested in any of the details on these solutions, please do get in touch with these great partners, and they'll be ready, willing, and able to give you more details on this, answer questions, give a demo, anything like that. So I'm going to pass it back over to Teresa, and we'll do a little wrap up here.
Thanks, Shelley. It doesn't look like we received any questions throughout the session today, but just wanted again to thank the Alliance partners that joined us today. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules to share your Conga use cases with us. We really enjoy having you guys join us on the webinar, so thanks for doing that. So everyone will receive a follow-up email with links to this agenda recording and any questions that might come through later. You can also visit our support page and click on our webinar archive to access today's session. I did just want to point out our new support page that we have. Shell, I'm not sure if you have that up on your screen. We do have a new support page, which we think is a little bit more comprehensive and has a lot more resources for everyone to easily access. So we do encourage you to kind of dive into that. And then this webinar is a part of our ongoing webinar series. So just like you registered for today's session, you'll be able to see a full calendar of the upcoming webinars that we do have. Shell, yeah, if you just want to visit the support page. So I wanted to point out the new support page. It's a little bit more comprehensive. Each of our products have some resources underneath it, including our add-ons at the bottom as well. There's now resources for our add-on products, and then if you go further down the page, you'll have access to our blog and tips and tricks and further deep dives. We also have a Conga University that is new that we've just started just incorporating in our training, which is really cool and exciting. If you've got some end users that just really need a good, great start with learning Conga Composer, we kind of basically walk them through creating solutions into learning how to build some advanced solutions as well. So that's something new and to look out for as well. I think the next sessions are coming up in June. But as always, thanks again for joining us, and be sure to let us know what you think, and we hope you have a great day.